The roar of the crowd was so loud, it shook the arena. Bright lights flashed above the ring. Everyone was cheering and shouting, too busy to notice what was going on behind the stage. Backstage, something very scary was happening. A young fighter stood still, very scared. A mean man, the fight promoter, grabbed him and pushed him against the wall. The promoter's voice was cold and angry. "You have to lose the fight tonight," he said, "or your family will be hurt." The fighter's face went pale. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The promoter showed him a phone screen. On the screen, the fighter saw a live video. His wife and little child were tied up, surrounded by men holding big guns. His hands shook. His heart was beating very fast. There was no confusion. The promoter was serious. If the fighter didn't lose the fight, something bad would happen to his family. The promoter smiled in a mean way. "I own you now," he said. "Fall down fast. Make it look real. Or else." Outside, the stadium was still loud with cheering. Fans jumped up and down, flashing cameras, shouting the names of their favorite fighters. No one knew what was really happening behind the curtain. But one man did notice. Jason Statham stood nearby, leaning against the wall. He looked calm and quiet, but he had heard everything. His eyes were sharp. He didn't say anything yet. He just watched. The promoter gave one last threat and started to walk away. The young fighter looked very sad, like he had already given up. Then Jason moved. He stepped forward slowly, looking right at the promoter. "I'll fight instead," Jason said in a quiet but strong voice. The room went completely still. Everyone was shocked. The promoter froze. He didn't know it yet, but he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Before we go on, don't forget to like and subscribe to see Jason's big fight with the champion. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from. The UFC arena was buzzing with energy. Thousands of people were sitting in their seats, waving flags and taking pictures. Loud music was playing, and the lights moved around the ring in the center. It was time for the big fight. On the speakers, the announcers were talking excitedly about the undefeated champion. The crowd was chanting and cheering. Famous guests sat near the ring. News people and TV cameras were everywhere, showing the action to the world. It all looked perfect, like a fun and amazing show. But behind the fancy lights and music, something dark was going on. Jason Statham was sitting quietly in one of the VIP seats. He looked cool in a black jacket and neat shirt. He didn't bring anyone with him. While other people laughed and drank fancy drinks, Jason watched the backstage doors. He looked calm, but his eyes were moving. He was watching everything. Whenever a fighter walked past, Jason looked closely. He wasn't just looking at their faces, he was reading their body language. Jason had done this kind of thing for years. He could feel something was wrong tonight. One young fighter stood out. He was in his early 20s. He looked strong but humble. Usually, fighters are focused before a match. But tonight, Jason saw something else. The young man was nervous, too nervous. He kept walking back and forth. He kept wiping sweat from his forehead. He looked scared, not just nervous. Jason could tell something was very wrong. This young fighter had a lot on the line. He wasn't just fighting for fun. He had a wife and a small child. He needed the money to take care of them. Winning meant everything to him. But tonight, Jason could see he wasn't okay. Then Jason saw the promoter. He looked rich and important. His suit was shiny, his watch sparkled. He acted like a nice businessman. But Jason could tell, he wasn't nice at all. People moved out of the promoter's way without him even asking. That showed how much power he had. People whispered about him. Some said he made fights unfair, some said he threatened fighters. But no one said anything out loud. They were scared of him. Jason kept watching as the promoter walked up to the young fighter. He leaned in close to whisper. No one else noticed. It was too loud outside. But Jason saw everything. He saw the young man's face go pale. He saw how the fighter's shoulders dropped, like he was giving up. Jason's jaw got tight. He knew this wasn't a fair fight. Something bad was happening. But Jason didn't say anything yet. He just watched and waited. The young fighter stood in the hallway, heart beating loud in his ears. He was trapped. The sounds from the crowd felt far away. The promoter leaned in again. His voice was quiet but full of poison. "You know the rules," he said with a smile. "Lose the fight. Make it quick. No funny stuff." The young fighter's hands were shaking. "Where's my family?" he asked, his voice shaking. The promoter pulled out his phone again. He showed the same scary video. The fighter's wife and little kid sat on an old couch in a dark room. Two men with big guns walked back and forth nearby. The fighter's face turned white. "They're okay for now," the promoter said. "But if you mess up, they won't be." Then he put the phone away. "Don't throw any real punches. Don't even try, or you'll never see them again." The fighter stood there, frozen. This was his dream fight, the moment he had worked so hard for. But now, it has become a nightmare. If he fought hard, his family could get hurt. If he lost on purpose, his whole career could be ruined. There was no good choice. He nodded slowly, giving up. His shoulders dropped. The promoter smirked and turned to walk away. But Jason Statham was still there. He had seen everything. Arms crossed, eyes sharp, he had watched every second. Jason had seen this kind of trick before, people using fear and power to control others. Jason didn't move right away. He was thinking, watching. The fighter was clearly trapped. The promoter thought he had won. But as the promoter walked past, Jason finally spoke. His voice was calm but firm. "Is this how you run your fights?" The promoter stopped. He looked at Jason, annoyed. "Stay out of this, Statham," he said with a wave of his hand. "This isn't your business." Jason didn't flinch. He stayed calm. The man who planned the fight, the promoter, smiled in a mean way. "Oh please," the promoter said loudly so others could hear. "The movie star wants to fight for real now?" The young fighter looked surprised. But the promoter just laughed louder. "You think pretending to fight in movies makes you tough," he said, leaning closer with a mean look in his eyes. "This isn't a movie. These fights are real. People get hurt for real." One of the promoter's helpers laughed too. "Maybe you want an autograph first," he joked. The young fighter gave a nervous, shaky laugh. He was scared and didn't know what to do. He didn't think anything could help him now. But Jason stayed calm. He looked right at the promoter and said quietly, "I'm serious. Let him go. I'll take his place." The promoter looked surprised for a moment. He stopped smiling, but just for a second. Then he laughed again, even louder. "You'll take his place," he said in a mocking voice. "Do you even know who he's supposed to fight?" Jason didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The promoter shook his head and smiled like he had already won. "Fine," he said. "You want to fight, then fight." He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Jason and the young fighter could hear. "But just know, when you lose, no one will be happy. And when it's over, you're not walking away at all." Jason still didn't move or look scared. "One more thing," Jason said softly. "If I win, you let the young fighter's family go. No tricks." The promoter rolled his eyes and laughed. "You're dreaming, Statham." Jason looked straight at him. "Do it on camera. Let everyone see you keeping your promise." The promoter paused, thinking. Finally, he smiled in a sneaky way and held out his hand. "Deal," he said. Then he turned to his team. "Let's give the fans a show they'll never forget." Jason didn't shake his hand. He had already said everything he needed to. The news spread fast. Everyone backstage was talking. Jason Statham, the movie star, was going to fight in the cage. Cameras were turned on. Security and handlers rushed around. Everyone was excited. Soon, the word reached the current UFC champion. He was big, strong, and had never lost a fight. He was in the locker room with his trainers when he heard Jason's name. He laughed so loud it echoed down the hallway. He walked around proudly, cracking his knuckles. Then he stopped near some crew members. "Jason Statham," he said loudly. "What's next? Is Hollywood sending actors to fight now?" The crew chuckled nervously. The champion flexed his muscles and said even louder, "This movie star thinks he can fight me? Please. This isn't a movie. There are no second tries." He looked around proudly. "He's gonna last 2 minutes before I crush him." Some people laughed. Others looked unsure. The champion rolled his shoulders and walked toward the cage area. "Let's see if those fake movie punches taught him anything," he said with a smug grin. Meanwhile, Jason stood alone in a quiet corner. He didn't respond to the champion's insults. His face stayed calm, like nothing bothered him. But inside, Jason was focused. He was ready. The cameras showed the cage again and again, getting the fans excited. The arena was full of people cheering. They thought it was all fun. A surprise fight. Even the TV announcers joked about it. They talked about Jason's movies and said the fight would be quick. None of them knew the truth. This was serious. A real family's life was in danger. Jason looked around carefully. Then he stepped away from the crowd. He found a quiet hallway and took out his phone. He called someone he trusted, a police officer. "Listen closely," Jason said. "The promoter has a family locked up, the young fighter's wife and kid. I know where they are. His crew is guarding them now." He paused. "They're trying to make the young fighter lose on purpose. I'm stepping in. But I need you to move now. Go to the place. Get them out before the fight is over." The officer replied quickly, "Got it. Sending officers now." Jason said, "Make sure there's proof the promoter did this. He's been cheating people for years. It ends tonight." Then he hung up, put his phone away, and calmly walked back toward the cage. He had one last job to do. The bell rang. The UFC champion didn't wait. He ran forward like a train, fast and strong. He looked so sure of himself. His shoulders were back, fists tight, smiling big. He moved fast, eyes locked on Jason. He threw a big punch, a jab, then a hook at Jason's side. Jason moved, just enough. The hit still landed a little. It hurt, but not too bad. The champion sneered. "Come on, movie man. Hit me," he shouted. Jason stayed quiet. He kept his hands up and moved carefully around the cage. The champion attacked harder. Punch after punch. He threw knees toward Jason's stomach. Jason dodged and blocked some, but not all. The champion was strong and fast. The crowd cheered loudly. To them, it looked like Jason was losing. The champion's coaches shouted from outside the cage, "Finish it early." Jason stepped back, near the cage wall. His breathing stayed steady. He never stopped looking at the champion. He saw something: too much power, too much pride, no control. The champion threw another punch at Jason's face. Jason ducked, but not fast enough. The punch grazed his cheek. Blood hit his lip. It tasted like metal. The champion laughed. "You're better at acting than fighting," he yelled. He raised his arms to the crowd. They cheered louder. But Jason stayed calm. He wiped the blood from his lip and stood straight. He breathed in deeply. His body was ready. He could see the champion's weakness, overconfidence. Jason moved lightly on his feet, changing how he stood. The champion came charging again, throwing elbows wildly. He wanted to trap Jason against the cage. For a while, Jason kept defending. He took some hits but used them to learn how fast the champion moved, when he attacked, what rhythm he used. Then, a hard knee hit Jason. He stumbled. The crowd gasped. But Jason didn't lose focus. He used the moment to understand more. The champion lunged again. Jason slipped to the side and hit a quick punch to the champion's ribs. Fast. Clean. He stepped away before the champion could react. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. The champion looked surprised. Not hurt, just shocked. He charged again. Jason ducked and slipped past another elbow. He hit the champion near the kidney. The crowd noise faded in Jason's mind. He only heard his own breath. His body hurt, but he stayed focused. The champion was slowing down. He was getting frustrated. Jason's plan was working. Jason was still standing. He kept moving away from the big punches. He made the champion miss again and again. The champion was getting tired. Jason didn't try to hit harder. He used smart moves. He let the champion use all his energy. Jason's moves got better. He rolled his shoulders, dodged fast, and kicked the champion's legs. Each move made the champion weaker. At first, the crowd only cheered when the champion hit Jason. But then, things started to change. Jason was still there. Still standing. Still fighting back. The camera showed the fans' faces. Some leaned forward, noticing something new. Jason wasn't just getting hit. He was learning. He was saving energy. He was in control. People in the front rows whispered. They saw the champion getting tired. His shoulders got stiff. His punches got slower. Even the TV announcer sounded surprised. Jason's not giving up. Fans started to cheer louder. Some even changed sides. Jason ducked under a big swing. He punched fast and made the champion stumble. What started as a joke. Now I felt serious. Even the man who planned the fight, and smiled at first, was now leaning forward, watching closely. In the cage, the champion got mad. He threw wild punches. They missed. Jason waited for the right moment. One big swing missed. Jason saw his chance. He hit the champion in the body, hard. The champion gasped for air. He tried to punch again, but Jason ducked low, turned, and hit his jaw with his elbow. The crowd went wild. The champion was dizzy now. Jason stayed calm. He hit again, 2 body punches, then a big hook to the face. The champion made one last try, rushing at Jason. But Jason ducked, grabbed him, and drove his knee into the champion's belly. The crowd jumped up. Jason didn't stop. He threw one strong uppercut. The champion's head snapped back. His knees bent. Jason stepped in. One final, big punch. A right hook. The champion fell. He was out cold. The stadium got quiet for a second. Then everyone cheered. Jason stood still over him. No big moves. No show. Just a calm, serious face. The camera zoomed in. He looked straight at the man who had set up the fight. That look said, "It's over." But far away from the stadium, something else was happening. Something only a few people knew. Just before the fight started, Jason made a phone call. It was a quiet call, but very important. Because of that call, a team of police officers rushed into a warehouse. Outside the city, inside the warehouse, bad guys with guns were surprised. The police were fast. They caught all the guards and made them lie down. At the back of the building, in a small room, a woman and a child were sitting. They were scared. Then the police came in. "You're safe now," one officer said kindly. They helped them out. Back at the arena, no one knew this had happened. But Jason knew. His quiet phone call had saved them. By the time Jason won the fight, the family was already free. Meanwhile, the camera showed the promoter again. He doesn't look so happy now. He looked shocked. He had planned this night to make money and look powerful. But now, everything was going wrong. It didn't stop there. Security guards walked toward him. Then the police came too. They moved quietly through the crowd. People started to whisper. Then, they reached the promoter. Before he could move, they grabbed him. The lights from the cameras shined on him. As the handcuffs clicked on, reporters ran. Cameras zoomed in. Even the TV announcers went quiet. The whole world watched it live. No more secrets. No more hiding. Behind the scenes, away from all the noise, the young fighter, the one Jason helped. I was looking for someone. When Jason finally came, the fighter walked up, his face full of feelings. His voice shook a little. "Thank you," he said softly. His hands were shaking, not from the fight, but from knowing his family was safe. Jason nodded. That was enough. No big words needed. Then, the fighter's family came in. The little child ran to his dad. His wife hugged him tightly. She was crying. Jason stepped back to let them have their moment. For him, the fight was never about being a star. While everyone was shouting and taking pictures, Jason quietly picked up his jacket. No interviews. No party. He walked calmly down the hallway. Before leaving, he looked back once. The fighter and his family stood together, safe. The crowd still cheered loudly, but Jason didn't care about the lights or the noise. He stepped out into the night, leaving the chaos behind. Because real heroes don't need fame. The crowd would remember the big punch. The newspapers would talk about the surprise win and the promoter going to jail. But the real story was much deeper. Jason's fight was not about being famous. It was about doing what was right. Real heroes don't fight for cheers. They fight to protect people. They don't stand in the spotlight. They stand between danger and the people who need help. Jason didn't fight for himself. He fought for someone else. He didn't wait. He acted. That's what makes a real fighter. Not big muscles. Not loud words. But courage, kindness, and doing what's right. Real strength is quiet. It protects. Did you enjoy the story? I'd love to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you had fun, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss the next adventure. Thanks for being here, and as always, stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring.